All right, topic 2, video. If you haven't done this, pause the video right now. This says before you watch the video, do these. One thing to refresh your memory if you've forgotten, when we are multiplying like bases, we add the exponents, okay? You add the exponents on these. So go ahead, pause the video, do these 4, and then pick up the video. All right, multiplying radicals. So on these, you can simplify the radical first if you can, okay? Things you need to remember. Multiply what is on the outside of the radical signs together, and then multiply together what is on the inside of the radical signs. So here's a key thing. What's on the outside stays on the outside. What is on the inside stays on the inside until you do the square root. Once you do the square root, then it comes to the outside, okay? So first example, 2 root 6 times root 12. So neither root 6 or root 2 or times root 2 can be simplified. So we are going to do 2 root 6 times root 2. 6 and 2 are the inside, so that becomes 2 root 12. And now we need to simplify. Root 12 can be simplified. What perfect square goes into 12? 4. So we have root 4 times root 3. Root 4 is 2. So now you can multiply 2 times 2, and you end up with 4 root 3. Okay? Now, root 6 times root 12. One way to do that is say, okay, 6 times 12 is 72. So we can do 6 times 12, you get 72. What perfect square goes into 72 is 36 times 2. Square root of 36 is 6, so you get 6 root 2. Another way to do that is to recognize, okay, 6 goes into 12. So instead of multiplying, I'm going to break down root 12 to root 6 times root 2. Now, root 6 times root 6. Well, root 6 times root 6 is root 36, which is 6. Anytime you multiply a radical by itself, you get the same thing. Okay, examples of that. Root 12 times root 12. Well, 12 times 12 is 144. The square root of 144 is 12. Okay, root 9 times root 9. Well, 9 times 9, you get root 81, which is, I just erased that whole thing, I don't know how. Anyways, root 81, which is 9. Okay, so back to root 6 times root 12. Root 12 can be written root 6 times root 2, and then root 6 times 6 is 6, so you get 6 root 2, which is the same thing we'd gotten the other way, just 2 different ways to do it. Okay, going on to 2 root 3 squared. 2 root 3 times 2 root 3. Well, we'll multiply what's on the outside. 2 times 2 is 4. Multiply root 3 times root 3. Well, root 3 times 3 is root 9, which is just 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. That's it for that one. Okay. The next one, we have 8 times 6, which is 48. And then you have root 3 times root 6. Well, 3 times 6 is root 18, so you can do it that way. Root 18. Root 18 splits to root 9 times root 2, right? 9 goes into 18. Square root of 9 is 3. So we have 48 times 3, which is 144 root 2. One way to do it. The other way to do it is say, okay, well, I know that 6 is root 3 times root 2. Root 3 times root 3 is 3, so I get 3 root 2. Times 6 times 8 was 48, and then 48 times 3, again, is 144 root 2. So you get the same thing, just 2 different ways to do it. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. We have a few more examples. So, root 3 times root 12. Again, you can simplify root 12 first, okay? Root 12, we know, splits down to 4 times 3. Square root of 4 is 2. And then we have root 3 times root 3, which is 3. 2 times 3 is just 6. Or you could have said, okay, well, 3 times 12 is 36. The square root of 36 is 6. Okay? Either way. All right, sometimes it's easier to multiply, sometimes it's easier to simplify it first. Okay, 5 root 3 squared means we do 5 root 3 times 5 root 3. Well, 5 times 5 is 25, and root 3 times root 3, 3 times 3 is root 9, which is just 3. 25 times 3 is 75. The next one, we have 4 times 2. They're on the outside, so 4 times 2 is 8. Now, with 7 times 14, I don't know that off the top of my head. I would have to get out my calculator. So instead, what I recognize is that 7 goes into 14. So I'm going to have this root 7 come down. In 14, I'm going to split to root 7 times root 2. Now, I can easily do root 7 times root 7 is just 7. So I have 8 times 7 times root 2, which is 56 root 2. Okay? Or you could have multiplied 7 times 14, simplified that. Totally up to you. The next one, root 3 times root 5 times root 10. Again, you can multiply. 5 times 10 is 50, times 3 is 150, and split that. Or I could say, okay, well, I recognize that 10 is root 5 times root 2. So I have the root 5 and the root 3. Now root 5 times root 5 is root 25, which is just 5. And I still have the root 3 and the root 2, and those two I can combine. 3 times 2 is root 6, so I get 5 root 6. Or I do 3 times 5 is 15, times 10 is 150, the square root of 150. Let's see, 25 is a perfect square. 25 goes into that 6 times, so you get 5 root 6. Either way is fine. I just wanted to show you both ways so you can decide what makes most sense to you. There you have it. Go ahead and do the U-Tries, have fun, and we'll talk about it next class.